Welcome back to the KSSR space program. In between episodes, I went through and I cleared out a bunch of the contracts that I had for visiting the Easter eggs on Kerbin. I did not tag the last couple of landing sites, however. I'm going to save that for a long-range aircraft we're going to build and very quickly go through. I also used the science from those missions to research the last couple of bits we needed for aviation. I also grabbed the solid rocket, the solid fuels, so that we could get those Separatrons. We're going to need those later. And I think, I think basic electronics was also a result of those. So we ended up getting some relatively good stuff done, and it took quite a while. So it wasn't really going to make you watch all of that. But for what we're going to do right now, we're going to be making a long-range aircraft to go tag those last couple of launch sites. And there we go. And the hope is that we're going to be able to do that in one go. That we're going to have one mission with this plane that will enable us to go tag out those last couple of points. Now, I'm also going to be designing this with something else in mind. We're not... Do I have... Oh, I don't have the right size cargo bay yet. Oh, no! Oh, no! Alright, I guess that'll have to wait. I was going to design it with an openable cargo bay facing down so that I could drop probes onto the ground as this thing flew by. But it looks like I don't have the right size ones yet. But in any case, so I'm going to go through and build this real quick. I will be back in just a moment. Okay, so we have designed our long-range aircraft. I'm pretty happy. However, we ran into the problem where we have to upgrade our spaceplane hangar because it's too big. Whoops. So we saved that. We'll go do our upgrade real quick. I think I've got the money for it. I don't. Oh, no. Oh, no, wait. Is it the runway? Yes, size and weight. Okay, I do. Alright, it was the runway that needed to be upgraded. My bad, my bad. Okay, yep, we're good now. We're all set. Alright, so we are going to launch this bad boy. Let's make sure this thing actually flies. And presuming it does, we're going to send it on its way to go discover our last couple of launch sites. Now, I have some more plans for this, presuming it works out okay. Ah, that's nice and loud, just like it should be. Those 4 turboprops. So if, oh, big and heavy. Alright. Look at all that fuel. Yeah, this is going to be good. Okay. So I'm going to go send this on its way. Whoop. Alright. little more roll than I wanted. I am going to go send this on its way to discover those last couple of launch sites. Now, I have other plans for this as well. We'll go down to Mahi Mahi first, then we'll fly over to the crater, and then probably go back and land at the desert airfield. But my plans for this aircraft are that these two structural fuselages, maybe this one in the middle too, or maybe these two here, will eventually be replaced by those cargo bays, and I'll be able to use this design in other missions. Oh, I should properly identify this. That I'll be able to reuse this design later to go drop science probes in the different biomes of Kerbin. I don't know if I'll do that in the series, but it is something I do in single player. I use long-range cargo aircraft like this. What I'll do is I'll make an inline probe with like one of these science modules, one of each science experiment around the outside of it, a couple of like landing legs that will sprout out the bottom, and a parachute on top. And I'll put like 4 of them inside a cargo bay, like end to end. And I'll fly over the different biomes, like the tundra, the badlands, the polar caps. And I'll open the cargo bay and stage off to drop those science probes one at a time in the different biomes. And then after I've deposited them all, I'll go land the plane, and I'll switch back into those science probes from the tracking station and do all the science and collect them. And that can be a really good way to grab a whole bunch of science, real quick when you're, stuck in like a rough spot in the tech tree. So I may do that later, but for right now, I'm going to speed this up because this flight, even on fast forward, is probably going to take me the better part of an hour. So I'm not going to make you sit through that whole thing. I am going to go send our KU-95 off on its very long-range patrol to go discover our last 2 launch sites, and then probably go land in the desert because it'll be the closest runway. All right, I will be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, we have just about reached our destination. You can see we're getting close to Mahi Mahi. And I don't remember exactly where it is over in this general area. Looks like it might be over on the other side of that mountain ridge. So I'm just going to fly down here and cruise around and take a look. I'm following the little objective marker we got. I placed, what's that? Is that a tree? That is... Okay, yes, it's a tree. Alright, I was thinking it might have been like a comms dish or something. Yeah, those trees, by the way, those bow trees or whatever they're called, you can actually get some science from those if you drive a rover arm part up to them. Oh, alright, there's a pop-up. Where is it? Here it is, right down over here. Alright, so we'll make sure we actually get the tag. We'll do a little low and fast flyby. Alright. We tagged our Mahi Mahi launch site. Whoop. There we go. Make sure we got... Yeah, we got our contract completed. So now we're going to go and we're going to fly to the crater. which is way over here. Another equally long kind of a flight. Oh, I better pitch up. Don't want any unexpected litho braking. And I noticed we also had a world record. What was it? Oh, just letting us know we found the launch site. Okay. Well, all right, I'm going to fly off over to the crater. I will see you guys again in a little while. Okay, so as you can see, we are approaching, well, we're at Crater Lake, but we are approaching our waypoint over there for the crater. And this should be our last tag here on the surface of Kerbin. After we've done this and flown back and landed back at the desert, because it's the closest. Where is it? Somewhere out there it is. It's the closest place to go land. We will be done with our KSSR aviation for right now. We may come back later and do some stuff sort of towards the end of the career. But after this, we're going to be ready to go up into space and actually do the space part of the KSSR space program. So for right now, let's tag our launch site. And I don't remember entirely where on this island it is. It might be like up on the mountains. Not entirely sure. Yeah, I think it might be... Oh, is that it down there? That's it down there. Alright, whoa. There's a big plane. We didn't mean to maneuver like that. Uh-oh. Okay. Alright, I'm going to have to bring us around a little bit, drop some altitude. And if you notice, up here in the top right, we've barely used like a third of our fuel to get this far. You know, this design, I'm not 100% confident, but I'm like 99% confident that this design would be capable of like circumnavigation around the planet on its own. I've used very similar aircraft designs, you know, just with the addition of like the cargo bays and stuff, to do like equatorial circumnavigation flights and some other like, you know, pole to pole to pole, you know, sort of long distance flights, dropping those probes everywhere and getting science flying above all the biomes and stuff. This ends up being a really versatile design, and I'm pretty happy with it. And of course, we're using turboprops. I think these engines, I think those are out of the SXT mod, is where I got those from before I... Whoa, crud. Uh-oh. Okay, we got our tag. Now we just got to get ourselves into a good flight attitude. Okay. Yeah, I think I got those engines out of the SXT mod. They might have been right out of Fire Spitter. I don't remember entirely. Alright, so we got our contract with some good money. And we got our crater launch site. Perfect. Alright, so now we are going to get ourselves back to the desert and go in for landing. So, and again, I am going to speed this up a bit. I will see you guys in a minute. Okay, so we have reached our desert launch site and our desert runway over there. I'm not sure if you can see it in the render, but it's over there in the distance. So we're going to be coming around. Oh, let me get my throttle up a little bit. We're going to be coming around for kind of a long final approach, but in larger aircraft like this in KSP, I frequently do that. En route, I made a couple of minor things. I tweaked my ailerons here to give me pitch authority as well, and I grabbed a crew report and like the temperature reading from flying over the desert. So we're actually going to get a little bit of science for completing this flight, and I'm going to do a quick round of experiments on the runway after I land. Now with this aircraft, you probably also noticed I doubled up on the large landing gear. For a plane this big, I usually use the extra large, but I don't have it unlocked out of the tech tree yet. So I ended up having to just double up on the large landing gear. I also put an extra landing wheel down there at the base of the tail. That's just there to prevent tail strikes. Tail strikes in KSP, if you've ever flown like large aircraft like this, are a serious problem. Serious problem. So on larger designs, I always put a little extra tandem tail wheel there, just to try and cut back on the tail strikes. Now in addition, this runway is not paved as well as the runway at KSC, so we could very easily crash out on this landing, so we'll see what happens. This could get a little hairy. Man, those engines are loud. I promise, after we're done with this mission, the volume will be a little bit more bearable. Alright, let's get our drag chutes, even on a big plane like this, it helps. Alright, let's grab some science, see if we get any points from the desert runway. We do! Alright, the desert airfield looks like it's going to be its own biome. So we'll get a little bit of extra science out of this. Okay, and with that, the noise is gone, and we should be done with aviation. So now we're going to get going with our first orbital probe. So that'll be some good developments here. Let's all right, 29 science. That wasn't too bad. Now we have a couple of contracts that we can grab. I'm going to grab all three. Now, one of these here is a leftover, to just do the orbit of the planet. Oh, there it is, just the orbit of the planet. This one was part of a contract pack that I started to develop, but is not finished. I think it's the only one. And you're going to see there's an orbital trajectory here that I need to match that roughly matches the actual orbital trajectory of the real Sputnik 1 flight. So it was inclined a bit more, but that is roughly the periaps and apoaps of the real Sputnik 1. That's kind of what its orbit looked like. So in order to complete that contract, we have to match that. So that could get a little interesting. But for right now, let's see about just getting ourselves into orbit at all. So I am going to go ahead and build ourselves our Sputnik 1 mission. Okay, so here's our first orbital satellite, our Sputnik 1. But unfortunately, we have to upgrade our launch pad because this is quite the heavy rocket, as you may have noticed. And it doesn't hurt, actually, to upgrade this as well, so we can get our control groups and a higher number of parts when the time comes. But so, here's our Sputnik 1. It comes in at a ridiculous 70 tons. So that is quite the rocket. And of course we have 33 parts out of 255. So overall, not bad. Let's give it a launch. Oh, let's check our staging. There we go. Okay. So let's give it a launch and see what happens. Now I don't I'm not super confident of getting... Ooh, that looked a little wobbly. But I'm not super confident of getting the Sputnik 1 launch trajectory on the first attempt here. But I am going to give it a shot with each launch, just because I think it's kind of fun. All right, we'll try for that. Oh, you know what I forgot? Minor detail. I completely forgot to add our Kerbal Engineer module. Kind of important. Need that. Okay. Minor detail, minor detail. All right, now we'll try that again. Okay, up we go. Start to do our gravity turn. And of course, our R7 rocket here is a little wobbly on the y-axis, on the rotation, but that's okay. It has an absolutely enormous amount of thrust. We are cruising. And this basic R7 design is going to be a bit of a workhorse for us over the course of this career. We're getting there. And it'll be just about time to dump our side boosters. There's a nice Korolev cross that you can't really see. Okay. Normally here, I'd just keep burning, but because we're actually going for that specific trajectory, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, using our time warp here so that I can get a little bit closer to the periapsis. All right, good. And I used that trick with the time warp versus the physics warp to cancel out our rotational momentum. We'll ditch our fairing. And we'll go a little bit further up here. Maybe we'll get this on the first try? I don't know. Maybe? Delta V looks pretty solid. Again, you know, the R7 design here in KSP is slightly overbuilt from what it was in reality. The parts mod I'm using, or that I based my custom parts off of, the Tantares mod, is slightly overtuned with some of its boosters and engines and stuff. I've tried to detune it a little bit, but oh, nice, we even got it. All right, so yeah, we got all kinds of good stuff there. So let's jettison our probe. Wait for this little guy to fly around into the daylight. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Whoop. All right, and we're beeping all over the place. There's not really much else we can do with it. I love the look of the Sputnik probe. Good stuff. Good stuff. And just for fun, I'm gonna flip around, get a good look at it over on the other side. Oh no, we're out of electricity. Oh right, I forgot all about that. Minor detail. Minor detail, but either way, I don't know. I've always liked the look of that. I mean, it's simple, it's elegant. What more can you want, right? So we're going to go back to the Space Center after declaring victory with our Sputnik 1 launch. And now we're gonna get a little bit more creative here. Let's see what our contracts, available contracts, look like. All right, science data from space around Kerbin. Explore Kerbin, transfer crew, not now. Sputnik 2, this wants us to return a temperature scan. So we are definitely going to be going for that. Now, do we have... All right, we've got some more technology. What do we got? We got VHF. This will help. And we can get electronic systems. This will also help. However, VHF is going to come first. And just a couple of more points, we'll get the electronic systems. But let me... You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if we ever remembered to get some of these science experiments from the launch pad. That could be a quick source of a little bit of extra science. So let me just check that real quick. We might be able to get the two birds with one stone here real fast. Come on. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, it looks like I had been neglecting some of the launchpad science. A little bit of diminishing returns on the goo. Nice, okay. That should get us enough for our little electronic parts there, which will be a good thing in the long run. All right, electronic systems. Now, this is going to get us a couple of important parts. This drone core, this is going to matter later on. The battery, of course, the Star Tracker is a good module. You can see there it provides the stability assist. Extra batteries and a magnetometer. This is one of the new science experiments that came with like some of the parts mods I'm using and stuff. And we're going to use that later on. To like send some probes off in the direction of the moon. And this is another fun part, the science return unit. This is like, it's a science capsule, but you can see there, I think it'll show you. Oh, it doesn't, okay. But this part is designed for re-entry, so that you can return science from orbit, or like from the moon, you know, back down for a landing. But in any case, we're going to do our Sputnik 2 launch. Let's do a new thing. Now, in reality, the Sputnik 2 launch sent a dog up into space. which was little tragic. Poor old Leica wasn't able to get home. But we are not going to do that. We are going to send up something a little bit more akin to Object D. And let me just real quick save our R7. Okay. So I think... He's checking my diameters. Yes. So we are going to send something up a little bit more akin to Object D. So this is going to be just a pure science mission without a poor stranded dog. And we will send up a whole bunch of science experiments on this thing. Now, in real life, so what Object D was all about? It was a design for a satellite. How do I do that? I think it's... I don't remember. I was trying to... Okay, yeah, that'll have to work. But Object D was a design for a satellite that they were working on before the Sputnik 1 design. And long story short, it ended up being a bit too heavy. And like full of all kinds of extra experiments and instruments. You know, it was extremely complicated for a first launch. It was a scientific probe. And because of the delays in getting it ready, that's when they opted to launch the more simple Sputnik 1 that, you know, we're all familiar with now, just as a proof of concept to get a satellite into space, prove that it would work, and you know, get the milestone of the first artificial satellite and all that. So we are going to cover this with antennas and stuff, the way that Object D was meant to be. Alright, and we're going to need some batteries. Now, in reality, the Object D was kind of shaped like a cone, but it had like some doors on the side that would open kind of like this to expose some of the instruments to space. But we don't really have any way to analog that, so this will have to do. This will be our little Object D. And I don't remember offhand... Yeah, that has a reaction wheel. That's good. And just for good measure, we're going to put on our star tracker. Get our Sputnik 2 going. Alright, so this is going to essentially be ready to go as is. Now, you're going to find that kind of from... Oh, right. Those can detach. I don't need those to detach. From this point in the save, this point in the career, there are going to be a lot of times where I'm doing what you see me doing here. I'm reusing the boosters. If you watched my KSP mostly stock career playthrough, you know, I reused some of the boosters periodically, but not nearly as much as I'm going to do with this save. Okay, so there is, you know what, just for cosmetics, we won't launch it from quite so high. There we go. Alright, so here is our Sputnik 2. Now, because we're running on battery power, we don't have any solar or anything. We're going to have to get all of our science and everything back down to Kerbin as soon as possible. And I'm not actually sure if I'm going to have enough electrical power to transmit all of those instruments back? So we will find out. Anyway, up we go. Okay, taking another look at our electric, I'd kind of forgotten that this unit has some batteries in it and stuff. So I think we're going to be okay there. At least I hope we are. Yeah, and we added quite a bit actually from these strap-on batteries. So that should be alright. So let's get this into orbit. Okay, and we don't have our patched conics or anything, so we have to rely on these readouts from our Kerbal Engineer module. Alright, we've got Sputnik 2. So let's complete our contract. That was the first objective, was to get the temperature scan back to the surface. So we got science from space around Kerbin, and we got the temperature scan. So let's see if we can get some of these chunkier ones. Okay, yeah, this will be no problem at all. A little slow and a little inefficient with these, you know, basic antennas, but we're getting the science done. Alright, not bad. So we completed our little Sputnik 2. We'll just leave that up there doing its thing for forever. Alright, let's see what our contracts look like now. Okay, we've still got transfer crew. I'm not going to be doing that. Now, Sputnik 3, here we go. It's time to test our ballistic capsule design. Launch an unmanned satellite in orbit, then recover it safely back on the ground. After this is done, we will have validated our design and can attempt a manned launch. So that is intended to go with some of these other parts here. Like our crew pod, and we've got this little guy. But we don't quite have enough science. So our Sputnik 3 is actually going to end up being another Object D launch. But this one, I'm just going to call it 2B. I'm not going to bother to... yeah. This is not going to be an orbital flight. I am going to send this straight up on a suborbital launch just to return some science from the space high above Kerbin biome. And this should still have enough thrust to weight to get up there. Okay. Yeah, so this mission is not intended to be an orbital mission. I'm literally just going to fly straight up until I get to flying high. Then I'm going to return all that science because it counts as, you know, its own its own situation, which will have its own set of science rewards. So this will take just a moment. Okay, so as you can see up there, we are in space high. So when we do all these science experiments, it's going to give us a fresh round of science out of them, which is good. Now, after we get that pressurization tech, and we can get that pressurized return capsule, we're going to be able to use that to get the full scientific return from some of these experiments without any of the diminishing return issues from transmitting rather than recovering. So it's gonna give us a little bit of a boost to what we can get with some of these probe missions. All right, so we've got 103. Now we've got a couple of directions we can go. We can go in the direction of some of our more fancy probes that we can send out in the direction of the moon. We can go pressurization for this guy, which is what I'm going to do. We could also go for some of these other technologies, like landing, that we could use to, do some larger probes with heat shields and stuff. We could go for reinforced fuel tanks for some slightly uprated boosters, or we could do the solid fuel stuff. I'm not going to be doing a lot of solid fuel this save. We're going to be going with pressurization. Honestly, it's just for this part right there. So we're going to be grabbing that. So did I remember to grab that? Yes, I did. So now what we're going to do, this is going to be more of a Kerbal mission than a KSSR mission. It's not going to be especially, historically based. So let's, see what we can do for some of these little parts. Alright, that'll be good. And you know what? Let me get rid of this fairing. No, actually, you know what? Yeah, that'll work. And where is our little... I think that'll do it for this guy. Yep. Alright, let me make sure that is the last one. Okay. Now we need to stick all of our science experiments kind of around here. Here we go. Look at that. Doesn't even look too terrible. And we're also going to do a magnetometer. Just because we can. It's an experiment that we don't normally get to return. So that should be a good little extra boost. And we'll stick one of these little guys on there. Then we'll get some electricity. Okay. So I think this ought to do it for Sputnik 3. There we go. And we'll make sure that that has 4 sides and is strutted out. Okay, good. Oh yeah, and we can do the other colors. Not that it really matters for this. All right. Now, in reality, what this would be a little bit more of like, I don't have the parts for it, but it would be like an unmanned Vostok mission, that sort of a thing. But for right now, this will have to do. And yeah, I think I still got the SAS without the Star Tracker. One thing I did forget, though, and I have to wait a second. I forgot to set a control to retrieve science into our little thingy. So we're going to do it when we turn the lights on. We are going to collect all the science. And we'll hope for the best. And we'll hope that that doesn't land out in the ocean. Because again, if memory serves, that part is built tough enough where it'll survive a re-entry and a hard landing. At least that's what it's intended to do. So, up we go. Alright, so my next step here... uh-oh, did I mess up my staging? I think I might have. Oh, no. No, I got it. My next step here is going to be to get this into an orbital trajectory. And the reason is I want to be able to kind of control where the... No, actually, you know what? This might work. No. No, I'm going to do it in normal way. I want to control where my little science return capsule is going to come down. I want it to come down over the desert because it's a good, flat, kind of a location on the surface that will have less of a chance of the little science module. Let's turn our lights on and collect. Okay. Less of a chance of our little science module like rolling down the side of a mountain or some nonsense like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up time a little bit and hope I don't run out of electricity. And it looks like I might, so that could actually become a little bit of a problem. Alright. Not great. Let me see if doing any of this stuff, do some engine burns, will maybe generate a little bit. So I think this engine has a built-in generator, so I might be able to recharge those batteries by doing a little bit of a burn. Yes. Alright. That gave me a little bit of a cushion, but not as much as I would have liked. Okay, this is going to be real tough. Ooh. Alright. So what I gotta do now is I gotta do a little bit of a retro burn. And we want to bring our... Well, you know what I really gotta do is I gotta go a little bit further around. As much as I hate to. There we go. Alright, give a little boost from some RCS. Or, I'm sorry, vernier thrust. Alright, so my hope is that this is going to come down and land like somewhere over the desert. I have no idea if that's actually going to pan out. But we'll find out. We'll do some Kraken insurance just for good measure. We've gotten all of our science into that. Decouple this. And decouple our probe. It's a little dark, you can't really see, but we've got our science return part. And it's very quickly running out of electric charge, but that's fine, it doesn't need any. This should be able to survive re-entry. Come on. Alright, we're coming in a little shorter than I wanted. It looks like we're going to land in the water. Oh, I don't remember if this thing floats. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. But, you know, that's fine. I mean, just like the real Soviet space program, the KSSR space program is absolutely going to suffer failures and setbacks and achieve success purely through trial and error. You know, it's important to really consider that, like, you know, the Soviet Union was able to achieve an enormous amount of really impressive technological feats in the space program. They were, you know, in like the space race and all that. They got a lot of firsts. Those came at a price, though, and they also had an absolutely enormous amount of failed missions. Failed boosters, failed probes, you know, failed equipment, failed science experiments. And, you know, that was just their engineering methodology. I mean, it's not a criticism when I say that. It's an observation. You know, they did a lot of trial and error. Okay, good. It floats. So we recover. And that should clear out that contract. Come on, hope for the best. It's thinking. All right. And it didn't clear it out. Oh no. Oh, I think it's a bug in the way the contract works. I think it's considering that the probe core that we were controlling the vessel from to be the part that needed to return and land safely. Oh, what a pain in the butt. Let me try this. Okay, yeah. I think the problem was it wanted this Mark I drone core to be the part that returned alive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try using this as the root part instead. And we'll hope for the best. All right, let me design this one a little different, but that's okay. It occurs to me I forgot to do the magnetometer scan on that last launch. At least I think I did. Minor detail. We'll remember that this time. But like I was saying about the real-life Soviet space program relying a lot on trial and error, the KSSR is no better, and will be relying on quite a bit of trial and error with some of these designs. Which one of these do we want to do? Yeah, this will be fine, I guess. There we go. All right. There's our new Sputnik 3, and hopefully it will satisfy the requirements of that contract after we screwed it up the first time. Set that to 4. Auto strut it. Alright, not bad. And again, we'll check our staging, our parts. Alright, boosters. Okay, I suppose that doesn't really matter too much. Oh yeah, that's the other thing we forgot to do. We definitely want to have some more electricity on here. There, good enough. All right, we'll try that again. We will purge our space program's permanent records, pretend that Sputnik 3, that first launch, never actually happened. We'll cover it up. We'll pay off all the engineers who designed and built the thing and swear them to silence for the rest of their lives. At least for maybe another 40 years or so. And we'll just reclassify that first Sputnik 3 mission. That was just a booster test. That's what that was. We were testing the booster design. The payload was just dead weight. It was a bunch of sandbags. So nothing to worry about there. Now we'll try this again a little bit more in earnest. I think this will get us what we need to complete the contract. I think. And that may have just been, the error on my part. A quirk of the way the contract system works with the custom contracts. It's from a mod called Contract Configurator. And this is a custom contract that I wrote. And once you fulfill some internal requirements that aren't shown on the screen, like achieving orbit, being an unmanned probe, that sort of stuff, the vessel you're flying gets the attribute Sputnik 3. And that attribute does not belong to every single part. If you jettison some boosters, they're not going to count as Sputnik 3 for the purposes of contract completion. I think it's only the probe core that I was controlling the vessel from, that root part, that counted as being Sputnik 3. So hopefully this time our little science return module there will get the credit for being Sputnik 3. And we'll hope for the best. And I want to launch this up a little bit more just to make sure that it counts as being in space high. All right, good. So we're going to grab all of this science. Run the scan, which gives us a whole bunch of science. That's a really good experiment. Okay, I think that is everything. And where is it? We will... There it is. Okay. So I think we have to achieve orbit to satisfy the requirements of that particular contract. Which we should be able to do. You know, we have a fair amount of Delta V left in this core stage. The R7, just like in real life, this R7 is a very good, very viable, very flexible sort of a rocket booster design. And, you know, make no mistake, I mean, I joke around a little bit, but, you know, the R7 Semyorka, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it was originally designed as a ballistic missile, but the actual rocket, I mean, you know, it's still flying today with the Soyuz and stuff. It's quite a good engineering accomplishment. Alright, and so I didn't... Oh, you know what? I think it needs... It might need science from space near Kerbin, not flying high. Oh, what a pain in the butt. You know what? Let me do this. And I hope I have the electricity. Ugh. Okay, that's an issue. We're still not... Yeah, look at all that juicy science. We're still not counting as, being Sputnik 3. That's interesting. I may have to go in between episodes and dissect that contract to figure out what went wrong. And, you know, as I mentioned, this is something that happens with, like, custom mod work. I may occasionally run into a little bug like that. That'll happen. It won't be the last one. Okay, that should give us a relatively safe re-entry profile. And that bothers me that I'm still not getting the credit. Yeah, I think in between episodes I'm probably going to have to just go and cheat that one out. Because, you know, we're clearly fulfilling the intended requirements. And we'll go ahead... Yeah, we're still not Sputnik 3. Interesting. Oh, I think I know what it is. That's a problem. I think it requires the part to be a probe core, and this does not count as a probe core. This counts as a science part. Yeah, I think it requires it to be a probe core in order to get the Sputnik 3 attribute transferred down to it. Alright, well that's good to know. Once I get the tech for the heat shields, I'm going to keep this contract active. And once I get the tech for the heat shields, I'll launch another one with a regular probe core. Whoa! With a regular probe core. And we'll get that done. And in between episodes, I'll go dissect the contract to verify that that's what it is. No big deal. No big deal. You know, again, just like the Soviet space program, we have a lot of trial and error here in the KSSR. Hey, now we're getting the re-entry particles. Look at that. Oh, we did for a second. It's a very small part that decelerates very quickly, as you saw. And because we lost our Kerbal Engineer thing, I don't know where we're coming down. What does this look like? Grasslands? This will also, by the way, be a good test to verify that this thing is going to survive the impact. Because this part is actually part of the Luna 24 parts, the science, the sample return mission that we're eventually going to send off to the moon. So what this part actually is, you know, like the analog to in Kerbal here, it's the analog to the re-entry sphere that the Soviets used for their robotic probes they sent to the moon that scooped up a little chunk of, big handful of moon rock, moon dust and regolith off the surface, and scooped it into this through a little hatch there, and sent this, I think it was about like the size of a basketball, this reinforced recovery part, probe, sphere, whatever you want to call it, vessel, back to Earth from, a little booster directly off the surface of the moon. Oh, yeah, it didn't quite. I think it needed to splash down. Okay. Well, again, like the real-life Soviet space program, we've had some trial and error, no big deal. So we've been going for a while. I am going to call this an episode. I am going to go dissect that contract in between episodes and verify that my understanding of the contract behavior and logic is correct, so that maybe with the third attempt, the first attempt at the Sputnik 3 mission, we'll actually successfully get credit for having completed that contract. As always, thanks for watching.